There's just a couple of comments over there. Jag, are we okay for time? Yeah? Oh, sorry, there's just one behind you as well.
Okay, we as a group, I think, covered quite a lot of the points which have been made already, but one of the things we talked about quite a lot was recognising, valuing and then fostering the leadership potential of all of the members of the team that you're working with, and that includes the band 2s and 3s, for instance, and going on from that is actually giving praise to people for a job well done, rather than just expecting things to be done and just telling them when it doesn't go well. And then from the sort of the leadership point of view, exploring various sort of local communication channels to sort of encourage other people to get involved, rather than just keeping it within this group here, but actually encouraging other people to sort of find out more, to come and talk to you about what you've been doing, and thinking about writing articles, talking at various events and so on. And then finally, just to remember to smile. And actually give time to the people that you're working with, but also your patients as well, and people feel valued that way.
Great. Claire, there's just one person in front of that gentleman. Thank you.
Sorry, just a suggestion really, building on what was the previous person said there, was try to maximise the return on investment, I suppose, from the NLC is one thing I would really advocate, building on the idea of publishing and presenting some of the work, but actually using some of the fellows as ambassadors for the programme, kind of almost in a semi-official capacity, whether it's by setting them up to talk to their peer groups back in clinical practice, or somehow utilising them in a much more kind of proactive model, I think would probably maximise our ROI.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Can I just ask a question on that? I know I sort of mentioned around, ROI is obviously increasingly more important, and one of the I've spoken to people around the sort of backfill element of the model, and obviously that's the most expensive part of the model, in terms of releasing people from that clinical practice. And I've had sort of polarisation of views to sort of say that, yes, that's fundamentally important. Without that backfill, we couldn't, take on this development opportunity, and it wouldn't have the value. To a different view that actually said that actually we could maybe we don't need the whole amount, and maybe we can sort of compromise on some bit to allow more fellows to sort of partake in the opportunity. I just wondered if there was a sort of strong view in the room really around what they feel is important about that. Louise is just coming, yeah.
I just really wanted to comment on the conversation we had before and after lunch, and I think we surmised comparing our different fellowships as being the difference between cheese and cats. That was the best analogy that we could come up with, because actually each person's fellowship's been quite, well, sometimes a little different, and for some of us very different indeed. Just to take this opportunity to add one of the points that wasn't really mentioned, although very well covered by our colleagues, which was actually we take the opportunity to redefine and realise our own ambitions in terms of next steps.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I know you mentioned it initially. I don't know whether that was what that point was just about funding and what people have done with backfill money. I just think my backfill money wasn't used in the way that I was trying to sell it to my management, and I just don't know whether it was used in the best kind of way, and I don't know what other people's experiences was of how well that funding was used, and whether that could have been used, like you said, in a different way.
Yeah.
But also just about what David was just saying about the disparity between the fellowships and what people have actually come out with, because some people have linked it into a master's and things like that, whereas other people have got no accreditation coming out from the fellowship. So whether that could be something that
and I think that's important of a national programme really, to get that consistency of experience. And we've got some regions where there's only one fellow, and therefore so there isn't that network that they can sort of build on as well, and sort of share those experiences. So today is really about how we can bring people together. But I think that is a good point, and there is something about a consistency of sort of the model, and that's why I wanted to sort of share those views. Yes, sorry. Nearly there. Okay.
Just on the backfill, I certainly was backfilled. I was removed from my post for 7 months, and that I think was really important to remove myself from the day-to-day work that I would have inevitably got bogged down in. So I feel very privileged to find out that not everybody has had that opportunity. But I do think then integrating back into my sort of, permanent organisation has potentially been more difficult. And what I suppose I'd advocate is a bit of both, so that a period of time where you are removed, which is backfilled and therefore doesn't cost the organisation anything, but a commitment from the organisation that you're going back to then meet the SHA, as it was in my case, halfway in terms of giving me the freedom to continue with that in my own place of work, so that there was a sort of dovetailing off. Because what I think has been hard about being removed totally is then integrating back in what you've learned. You come back fire in your belly, and not everybody kind of wants to necessarily hear about it. So perhaps that's a happy medium.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Thank you very much.
Specifically around projects, so we're talking about practical steps around improving services. So the practical steps you've taken is demonstrated in the projects you've seen displayed outside, and thank you very much to all of you who've presented. So we just wanted to get a flavour of what's been interesting out there for you, which projects particularly captured your attention, your imagination. Would you like to just feed back?
I was really interested by Josie's poster on 136 because it wasn't just about mental health, it was about partnership working with police, local authority, and actually getting people to sit down, understand each other's values and coming up together with a really common goal, and I think that was really useful.
Great.
Was that the only one?
I was interested in the poster on the developing leadership in care homes, because what seemed to be missing from my perspective was that through the West Midlands Stroke Research Network, there is a piece of work being done at Birmingham University called the OCH project, which is occupational therapy in care homes. And there's a major piece of research which is national, which should fit into that leadership project. It has the same sort of desired outcomes, and the two should be married together. So I'm not sure who was responsible for the care home project, but get in touch with Professor Cass Ackley at Birmingham University.
Thanks, Bryn, for the practical tip there. I mean, that's the value of getting feedback, isn't it? Thank you.